Where one week ends, a new one begins. Welcome back to the Debt Row Podcast. On a day after we look back on week one, we look ahead to week dos in the National Football League. David Sabaker, Josh Sears, Bradley Davis, and a little bit of a different alignment if you're looking here on YouTube today. Brad to my right, Josh underneath me this time. I wonder why StreamYard decided to do that. That's a little because I didn't do that.
It's got to keep you on your toes.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
got to change it up every now and then.
It's like switching up your game plan from week 1 to week 2.
Yeah, a lot of teams will be looking to do that.
The Giants better do that.
Yeah, you would think. You would absolutely think. We'll get right into it. Thursday night football tomorrow night at the Link. Philadelphia -7 at home against the Minnesota Vikings. Over-under sits at 49. There is a whole lot at play here with how both teams performed, particularly in the second half in week one. Both teams had many opportunities in the first half, the Eagles cashing in on most of them, the Vikings failing to cash in on a lot of them. And the second half was pretty sloppy for both teams. So both of these teams will be looking to get off to a good start at the beginning of tomorrow night, Josh.
Yeah. Tomorrow night should be interesting. Thursday night football, always pretty sloppy. We saw that last week. I love this game, along with how I'm going to feel about a lot of the slate this week. Vikings are very intriguing to me. I got this number actually on Monday at 7.5, so I love getting that hook. It's already been bet down, I believe, a point at most books, depending on where you're looking. May change a little bit between now and tomorrow night.
There are 6.5s out there, yeah.
Yeah, if you're looking to bet the Eagles, now's the time to go. If you're looking to bet the Vikings, I would wait until probably an hour before kickoff because public money will come in on the Eagles, I think, and bet this number back up to 7. If you can get it at 7, I would 100% hammer the Vikings without confidence. I'll even probably be sprinkling on the money line for this game.
No Gainwell and no Bradbury, it seems like, for the Philadelphia Eagles, as well as safety Reed Blankenship. Jalen Hurts only 5 yards per attempt in week one. Looking to kind of subdue that is the Vikings defense as well, who they were able to hold Tampa Bay to 33 yards or 33 attempts, 73 yards, and only just over 2 yards per carry. How are they going to do that against the Eagles, Brad?
I don't know if they're going to be able to. The Eagles' offense, I feel like, is going to be more explosive this upcoming week. Tomorrow. I like Jefferson and the Cousins duo. I think that with Bradbury out and Blankenship out, it's going to kind of weaken that Eagles defense a little bit, that secondary. So I'm sure Cousins and Jefferson will be on target with each other. But also on the flip coin, like you said, the Vikings, defense didn't really do too much against Tampa either. They played pretty well against them, but nothing too particularly exciting when you looked at the last game they played. So I'm looking at this game as a potential over on the 49. I could see this game get out of hand in terms of a shootout, which in that case, I like the Eagles a little bit more just because I like Hurts more, but it should be a really exciting one for sure.
102.8 quarterback rating for Cousins in week one, but the 3 turnovers is really what did them in. Josh knows how I feel about this game. I would side with the Eagles. I know he sides with the Vikings, but we will get into that a little bit later as we hit the Sunday slate and head to Duval. Kansas City is a 3.5-point favorite at Jacksonville. This could end up being a very important game when we look back on it at the end of the season for playoff purposes. I think a lot of people believe that these two teams will each win their respective divisions. And don't look now. And look, I'm not trying to sound the alarm, but Kansas City being 0-2, that's something that's at play here.
Yeah, it's at play. I'm not too worried about it. I think the Chiefs win this game. I think they probably cover the number. I like the number better at 3, but I still wouldn't mind it at 3.5. I would just reduce my risk. But yeah, having Chris Jones back in the building, Travis Kelce more than likely back on the field, I think that is just enough to where it probably should have moved this line to 4, maybe even closer to 4.5, in my opinion. Um,
with
Jacksonville's
Jones
good.
and Kelsey back.
Yeah, with those two back,
Yeah.
that should move the spread at least a point, if not 2. I get that it's in Jacksonville, but it's still a different class. We saw this matchup last year in the playoffs, and Chiefs came out like I typically expect them to do in these big time games. I still get the questions at wide receiver for the Chiefs, but hopefully with Kelsey back, we'll see some of that fixed.
Chad Henne was a big part of that. That drive at the end of the first half. I want to see more Rice, and I want to see more Ross, more Rashee Rice, more Justin Ross for the Chiefs in this game. Here's something that is going to be on a lot of people's radar, particularly the refs, Brad. Jawan Taylor lining up basically halfway into the backfield. He's going to be going up against – you know that they're not going to allow him to do that shit again 2 weeks in a row. And he's going to be going up against Josh Allen. No, not that Josh Allen. Defensive Josh Allen out of the University of Kentucky, who ran off to the tune of 3 sacks in week 1. Mm-hmm. I don't think that the Jaguars coaching staff is going to allow what we saw last Thursday night in Kansas City of Jawan Taylor basically lining up in the backfield.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sure he probably runs sprints during practice this week for some discipline, Nary. But I really like the Jags in this game. I think, like you said, Josh Allen last week, not the Josh Allen that we all think of, but the Josh Allen with 3.5 sacks against Anthony Richardson, who played really well last Sunday. I think, he's going to disrupt that Kansas City offensive line pretty well. Aiden Hutchinson had a pretty good game against Kansas City that Thursday night game. So I'm looking at that Kansas City offensive line and that receiving core as a bit that could become an issue, especially going up against a lot of these elite pass rushers and a lot of these secondaries that are kind of underrated. But they are getting Kelsey back. I think I like Rashee Rice after seeing what he did against the Lions on that Thursday night game. So I like Jacksonville to cover. I think, like you said, Josh, at 3, I'd feel a little bit more comfortable at 3. But 3.5, I still like it. This could be a sneaky game where it is kind of goes into the under. I think both defenses are sneaky good, so
yeah,
I'm not too sure about the over on the game, but I do like Jacksonville covering at 3.5.
The under feels pretty safe here. I feel like that would be a lean for me if I was picking a total. You count your blessings when you say an under is safe in a game where the guy wearing red number 15 is involved. But I digress. To Orchard Park, the Raiders are looking to go 2-0 for only the second time in the last 6 seasons when they play the Buffalo Bills at Buffalo. Buffalo coming off of a very high and low emotional roller coaster of a game on Monday night that we touched on for quite a while yesterday. There is quite a large number here, -8.5. Most of the books have it at 9.5 now. These odds brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook are what you see on your screen. So a lot of places are hanging 9.5s, but DraftKings is hanging an 8.5 here for the Bills. Over under 46.5. Is Jimmy G to Jacoby Myers the new power couple in the NFL? Looks like it.
Is Jacoby Myers going to play this week?
Yeah, he might not.
Protocol, correct?
Yeah, he might not.
Yeah,
is he dealing with an injury?
Yeah,
he got smacked and
that's right.
Out. Yeah. But no, it looked good, but I still look for that to come back to the norm and probably funnel more targets to Devontae Adams, considering he
not
still
a bad guy to
exists
funnel
and
targets
is
to.
still one of the best receivers on the planet.
Yep.
I don't think any of that matters in this game, though. Personally, I think You've got a pissed off Bills team coming off of a nationally televised embarrassment. I would take Bills minus $1 billion here if I could. I mean, Bills to the moon. I just don't see any way this team comes out flat after that performance they had last week. Just
No way.
what? How could you? Josh Allen should play a pretty much flawless game against this Raiders defense, which outside of Max Crosby, I don't think is very good.
How will Josh Allen bounce back? That's going to be pretty much the big question on that side of the ball.
That's
and
the
for
big
the other
story.
side of the ball, where the Raiders are on offense, Brad, they played a pretty mistake-free game against Denver. The more that you look at the box score and you look at how the game transpired, the Raiders did not allow a sack. 43.5% pressure rate for the Bills against the Jets, that is. So that's going to be the key matchup. You have all those pressures and all those downs where the Bills were in the backfield, and the Raiders held up against a very good, solid front seven for the Denver Broncos. I think there's your key matchup right there.
I think going into this game, I think the biggest thing is going to be how the Raiders' run offense can be. Last Sunday, they were not particularly well, especially Josh Jacobs. I think he was averaging maybe like 3.5 yards a pop. This Bills defense did give up 120 yards to Breece Hall, and Dalvin Cook had about 5 yards a pop. So I think the biggest thing here is going to be the Raiders to establish the run early in the game so they can open up the play action. But if they can't, Jimmy G is going to have a long day because surprisingly, that front four for the Bills played really well against the Jets offensive line. And I see them, taking advantage of that offensive line that didn't really play too well against the Broncos last Sunday. Like Josh said, I like the Bills to cover this one. I think they're going to come back. I think Josh Allen is not going to have a game like he did Monday night. I think that he's going to be more aggressive with his play, and I think that he's going to be less, in terms of turnovers, trying not to cause those turnovers really hurt his team. So I like the Bills in this one. I like the under on this one at 46.5. So I feel comfortable with both. Yeah, I like the under, and I like the Bills at 8.5.
We head to Cincinnati. Another team that is considered an AFC heavyweight that could be looking at 0-2 right in the face, the Cincinnati Bengals. They got a tough division game at home, though, this time against the Baltimore Ravens. They're hanging 3 and a hook, and the total is 46.5. Both quarterbacks have an opportunity to improve from last week. I'm not really concerned about Zay Flowers following it up either. I think we saw what we're going to see for a long time for the Ravens going forward. But the Bengals got absolutely gashed by the Browns, allowing them to run for 206 yards on 40 attempts. That's a good enough for a clip of about 5.2 yards per rush. And for the Ravens, their defense did exactly the opposite against a much different opponent. But 5 sacks and 10 QB hits. They were in the backfield on almost 45% of the Texans' snaps. This has just got to be one of those situations where the Bengals have to just play better on both sides. The defense got gashed. The offense had nothing. And the Ravens really only have to figure it out on one side, and that's on the offensive side.
Yeah. I mean, especially with them losing J.K. Dobbins, I think that's, they have Gus Edwards, I think. Is that who their backup running back is?
Yeah, Gus Edwards.
Justice Hill was getting a lot of totes, too.
A lot of goal line touches.
Yeah, so they're definitely going to have to, step up after the unfortunate injury to Dobbins. Mark Andrews should be back for the Ravens, so that's another pass threat that they have in their offense. I think Zay Flowers builds off what he did last week, and I like the Ravens to cover this game. The Ravens tend to give the Bengals the run for their money every time they play them, especially last year when they didn't have Lamar. I like the Ravens in this one. I actually like the over. I think that this game could become a shootout if Zay Flowers builds off what he did last week. And I don't think Joe Burrow is going to have a game like he did last week. I think him and Higgins are going to be just fine. I think him and Chase are going to be just fine. I think Mixon could have a better game than he did last week. But yeah, I like Baltimore, and I kind of like the over on this game.
Yeah, I'm on the other side of that coin actually. I lean under, and I definitely
lean under
lean
as well.
Cincinnati. This line, if you take both teams' logos away and watch both games from last week, you would think the Ravens should be favored by 6.5, 7 points. So this feels like one of those classy fishy Vegas lines. They set the team that looked terrible in week 1 as a 3.5-point favorite, and they'll probably cover with ease from what I feel. I look for Burrow to come out and play much better than he did last week. I look for T. Higgins to come out and play much better than he did last week. And there's a lot of big time concerns for me for the Ravens on the offensive side of the ball when you're not able to perform better than they did last week against the Texans team with a new head coach. I get that it's DeMeco Ryans. I respect DeMeco Ryans. He had a whole off season to prepare for week 1, but you also had a whole off season to prepare for week 1, and I know he's a new coach in a new place, but you could go look at exactly what he did in San Francisco and probably figure out what he's going to run defensively. You just don't know complete personnel, but his personnel is nowhere near as good as what he had there. So
Correct.
you should still dog the Texans in week 1. The score looks like they did, but when you go back and watch that game, they played very, very poorly and not up to their standards. And the Texans moved the ball fairly well at times on them. So I don't think their defense was a bunch of world beaters either. So I look for Cincinnati to move up and down the field much better than they did last week, weather permitting. You know,
Yeah,
I
think that's the biggest thing.
Joe.
Let's get less rain this week, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't need all these tiny hand quarterbacks out here fumbling the ball around.
Brad?
I think that is one thing to keep in mind is the weather. Like I said, I like the over on this game. But if the weather becomes a big factor, then I might not feel so comfortable about that. But for right now, I do like the over. Like I said, I think the Ravens, they always give the Bengals a run for their money when they play each other. So, it's a divisional game. So, they're going to be going after it. Like I said, Joe Burrow, I think he bounces back from last week. I don't think he has only 84 yards passing. Just do not see that happening like ever again throughout the rest of the season. So, but yeah, but I do like Baltimore. Yeah, or his career. But yeah, I do like Baltimore covering. I think that, with the addition of Mark Andrews coming back this week, I think that that'll be a big booster. Boast up their offense a little bit more than what they had last week with just Zay Flowers being their number one option.
We move to the Music City, where the Titans are home dogs. As I give out my Patrick Star face, we go like this. Mike Vrabel as a home dog. Give me some of that at home against Brandon Staley and the Chargers. 45.5 is the total. I think looking at this game and trying to dissect it, it's a very simple analysis. What side's going to give? The Titans defense looked great. The Chargers defense looked terrible. The Chargers offense looked great. The Titans offense looked terrible. You have a really solid side when the Chargers have the ball going up against the Titans defense, which looked really good. And then you have two really sloppy and uncoordinated units in the Titans offense going up against the Chargers defense. Wherever one of those sides gets an edge is going to be the difference in this game, Josh.
Yeah, I look for this to be another sloppy game. My lean here is to the under, I believe. Yeah, I lean under in this game. I think the Titans try to run the clock. I think that the Chargers also try to run the ball on the Titans. A lot of running clock and sloppy football. This is a game I probably won't watch a lot of, to be honest with you. Just two teams that don't really appeal to me very much. And if I had to lean a side on this game, I'd probably lean the Titans just because Derrick Henry's good for one game that he'll carry them to for a victory a year. And the Chargers feel like they blow these kind of games at least once, if not more, a year.
Yeah. Vrabel as a home dog. I'm all over that.
Yeah, give me that every day of the week.
100%.
I like the under on this one too. I think the biggest thing with the Titans is if they can establish the run, especially with Derrick Henry. The way that they used Derrick Henry week 1 wasn't all that impressive and was kind of weird that they kind of pushed away from him in favor of Spears. So I think the biggest thing going into this game will be the Titans establishing the run because the Chargers' defensive line held up their own in the run against Miami. I know Miami doesn't have a Derrick Henry type of running back, so obviously, Miami wasn't really going to be able to establish a run on the Chargers defense. But I think overall it's going to be a game where both teams are going to try to establish the run, and it's going to come down to which quarterback can utilize the opportunities. And I don't like Tannehill. He had a terrible game last week. I like Herbert better, so give me the Chargers to cover, but I think the under is a safe move here.
Yeah, one more thing for me. Yeah, where you're headed. If you're looking to bet it, the reason I really lean here is this line opened at 3.5, and money's pretty dead even, and it's already moved down to 3. It feels like the line movement is going in the favor of Tennessee, and Vegas is strongly respecting Tennessee, which I think they should. Yeah. That's the biggest reason I lean Tennessee in this game.
I would be careful, though, placing any wagers before the inactives come out on Sunday. Hopkins was targeted 13 times, and he was limited today with an ankle injury in practice. To everyone's
also
darlings.
Eckler as well.
Yeah, Eckler did not practice today.
And Joey Bosa, I don't think practiced either.
That could be big reasons to lean towards the Titans. In the Motor City, where everyone's darling takes the field for the first time in 11 days at home against the Seattle Seahawks, who, yikes, are going to have to get that second half out of their memory, out of their mouths, everything, all of the above. The Lions are well rested. They're going to have plenty of time. They have had plenty of time, rather, to prepare. Major offensive line questions, though, for the Seahawks with Charles Cross and Abraham Lucas both ailing injuries and are questionable going into Sunday. And that was a big problem, a big reason why Geno did not look like the Geno of last year. Adams and Witherspoon being questionable as well in the secondary makes me understand why this line is at where it's at, 5.5.
Yeah, give me Seattle.
Okay.
Who did Detroit have to cover last week?
Yeah, not these guys.
Not these guys. Not 3 top flight receivers. And the pressure doesn't scare me as much from Detroit as Aaron Donald rearing down on Geno Smith up the middle. Last time I checked, the Detroit Lions don't have an Aaron Donald coming up the middle. They got Aiden Hutchinson coming off the edge, but Geno loves to step up in the pocket. That will probably be allowed. As good as Aiden Hutchinson looked last week, there was still a lot of scenarios where he was getting too deep up the field. Mahomes was able to step up in the pocket a lot and create. I look for Geno to do more of the same here and probably connect with Jackson Smith and Jigba a lot this week. Feels like the type of game where he's going to be trying to get the ball out quick. There will be pressure, but I think it will be manageable pressure this week as opposed to last week.
Yeah, I do like Seattle to cover. I think that this game could go on the over in terms of points. I think both offenses have the offensive power to generate a lot of points. Like you said, the Lions defense didn't really have to go up against anybody when it came to the Kansas City's offense in terms of the receiving. So they're going to be going up against 3 studs at the receiver position for Seattle. I don't see Geno having a bad game like he did last Sunday. And yeah, I hope Gibbs is utilized more in this game too. I think that's going to be a big thing to watch out for to see how he's utilized in this game compared to week 1. But yeah, I like Seattle to cover this. I think that this could be a high-scoring game, especially in a controlled environment in the Dome in Detroit. So yeah, give me the over on the points on this one.
Yeah, if this game's anything like last year, Seattle covered that total
Yeah.
alone. The thing finished 48-45 last year.
Yeah, that was a hell of a game.
Especially with Seattle adding, like you said, Jackson Smith-Njigba. I think this is a game where Seattle really comes out and gets a good feel of what their offense is going to be like.
I hope so, but the tackles do concern me. Not having either
big
starting
time.
tackles, that's a big concern.
For now, questionable, but we'll see.
Yeah.
We head
Bringing in
to
Jason Peters is not a good sign.
No, not at all. We head to Houston, where one of the 2 rookie quarterbacks in the AFC South will get their first dub on Sunday. Will it be Richardson? Will it be Stroud? And yuck, the total is 39.5. We're about to have a streak here where we talk about 4 straight games where the total is in between 39.5 and 40.5. I do think that it was very obvious that Michael Pittman is still the wide receiver 1 for this team. He looked like he did not miss a beat in hooking up with Richardson this weekend. Both QBs going for win 1. The key matchup here, Braden Smith got abused last week by Josh Allen, and he's going to have to go up against Will Anderson, who's going to keep looking for sacks. He had 6 tackles as well. Brad, what do you see in this matchup?
The battle of which rookie quarterback's better. Richardson played really well week 1, especially against the Jags defense that going into the season I thought was sneaky good. I'm curious to see how Stroud plays, especially against a defense that really isn't all that great. I would give the edge to the Ravens defense over the Colts defense, so he'll actually have a game to where he can kind of figure out how he's going to be. I also like I said, I've been a big Nico Collins fan, so I think that him and Nico Collins' connection last Sunday hopefully will continue for Stroud. But like you said, Will Anderson Jr., I think that he could potentially have a monster game against the Colts. I like Houston covering at the 1. I do like the under on this game. I don't see this being a really high-scoring game. That's what's going to usually happen when you have 2 rookie quarterbacks who are still trying to understand how their level of play is going to be. And both defenses aren't really particularly that great. So, I think it's going to be a pretty sloppy game. But I do like Houston covering just because I trust their head coach a little bit more than the other one. I know there's not a lot of experience from both head coaches in terms of head coaching experience, but I kind of like Houston to cover on this one, but the under I like more.
Yeah, I love the Colts here. When it comes to 2 bad football teams, my lean is typically towards whoever I think the better quarterback is. And if healthy and on the field, I think Anthony Richardson is the best of this rookie class and definitely better than CJ Stroud. But I think the big story of this game is going to be whichever quarterback wants to give this game away more. They're both going to make mistakes. They're both going to turn the ball over. It's inevitable. It's what happens. I just think Stroud is more prone to those mistakes at this point. I think we saw it a little bit in week 1. He didn't have a super high turnovers in his box score, but watching that game, he had a lot of turnover-worthy plays, that's for sure, throwing back across his body over the middle of the field. And I thought Richardson had some inaccurate moments, but nothing that was as turnover-worthy concern as Stroud's game was. So that, I think, will be the difference in this ball game.
Football guy phrase, ball game. Guys love saying football guys love saying ball game.
Ball game, the football.
We head to the Big Body Bends for the second week in a row. The Falcons will be playing at home. and they will be hosting the Jordan Love show. The Jordan Love era will actually hit the road for the first time. 245 yards for him last week on 15 completions. Not too bad. Not too bad. If I knew math like I knew sports, I could do that off the top of my head, but I don't. However, on the other side of things, Desmond Ridder, 115 yards on 15 completions and a whole lot of rushes for Algier and Robinson. The Packers, one thing to note here, the Packers did hold the Bears running backs to less than 4 yards per carry last week. I think if anybody would have been sold on something with the Bears outside of the upside of Justin Fields, it would have been their ability to run the football. That did not happen last week. The Packers are flying high. The Falcons still have a lot of questions, in my opinion.
Yeah, one of those questions is not Bijan Robinson. I don't look for the Packers' success against the running game to continue to that certain extent because Bijan is an alien, not from this planet, as I think I've said before on this podcast. He proved that on Sunday on his touchdown reception. I still like the Packers to win this game, but I will be rooting for Bijan to get me fantasy points all day long. But yeah, other than that, I think the Packers are the better team, top to bottom. And Desmond Ridder is not, I wouldn't even say not a good quarterback. I don't even know if he's an NFL quarterback at this point.
He doesn't scare anybody for sure. Like, when's it going to be?
No, actually, I would invite him in. Yeah, Heineke runs away with this division. With Kyle Pitts, Drake London, and Bijan Robinson at his disposal.
I bet those guys in particular are ready
Heineke
for them to pass the torch.
Yes. It would be Kyle Pitts to the moon.
Yeah, remember how much he loved to target Logan Thomas?
He loved Logan Thomas and Terry McLaurin.
Yeah.
Dude, all of those guys could eat with Heineke in the lineup.
That's.
I mean, do we see the Jets maybe call the Falcons to get Heineke?
Nah.
I think the Falcons. I think if Terry Fontenot had even a shred of smarts, he hangs up the phone. Did you see what our quarterback looked like on Sunday? No thanks.
Yeah, exactly.
We need him.
Yeah.
We need him.
We will keep him.
We actually need him.
Hey, you can call up Carolina for Andy Dalton anytime you want.
Yeah, sure.
Come get him.
Yeah, I don't like Desmond Ridder going up against this Packers secondary. It's going to be just like week one for him. It's going to be a lot of handoff, little screen pass, which I don't think that's going to be enough to win this game, especially against a defense like that. I do think Green Bay's rush defense is going to be put to the test with Bijan Robinson and Algier, and Cordell Patterson's coming back too, so they'll finally have their Joker in the building. The Joker.
So another guy to run the ball. Yeah,
exactly.
More running.
But I do like Green Bay covering. I do like the under. I don't necessarily love, like I said, the matchup with Ridder against the Packers secondary. I think that his problems are just going to continue. I've said it coming in all offseason that I'm not a big Desmond Ridder fan. I think the Falcons go as far as Ridder goes. So I like Green Bay covering in this game. I like the under on it. I think, Jordan Love is just going to build off what he did last week. Does Christian Watson, does he come back this week?
He's still questionable.
He's still questionable, okay. But either way, I mean, Dobbs played pretty well. Yeah, I mean, Dobbs played pretty well. I know there's still a question mark with Aaron Jones, but I still like A.J. Dillon. And, I like Green Bay covering this game. I feel pretty confident in that.
Dobbs did pop up on the injury report today as well, though, with the hamstring. Still doesn't concern me all that much. But I think both will play. I think Aaron Jones will probably play as well.
Yeah.
Muted.
Oh.
Yikes. From one bay on the road to a bay at home. Dude, it was tough to get my mouse back over to finish that off. We head down to the pirate ship. The Bears try to shake off what was a putrid display last week on the road at Tampa Bay. A couple of defensive head coaches going head-to-head for a total of 40.5. Tampa Bay -2 and a hook. That's hovering kind of between 2.5 and 3. Obviously, looks like some money is coming in on Chicago. The numbers will dissuade you on how Justin Fields looked last week, especially like I had said yesterday in the second half was where things really started to unravel for him. No free shout outs, but if you do like watching film, the QB school rather, did a great video on Justin Fields. It really goes into depth, like what the fuck is Luke Getsy doing over there?
Poor
Tampa
DJ
Bay was
Moore,
methodical. Yeah, I know, right? And only 2 targets is a big thing.
Yeah.
Mooney seems to still be getting a whole lot of them. The Bears, I mean, on
Gotta
defense
change
too.
at some point, right?
Absolutely.
That's
The
Bears
on defense too were not really doing much with just 1 sack, and we're only pressuring Jordan Love on 21.4% of dropbacks. That's not going to get it done in this league, especially now going up against a team this week, the Bucs, that only allowed 1 sack. That offensive line looked a lot better than people thought it was going to. Just 1 game, but this could be a get-right game for the Bears, or, man, we could see the Baker Mayfield show at 2-0.
Yeah, like I said about the Chargers-Titans game earlier. This is a game I probably won't watch a lot of. I'll flip in here and there, see what's going on. Don't think I'll stick around very much because there's going to be a lot of bad football played here.
Yeah.
If I gun to my head forced to pick this game, I'm probably taking Tampa, especially at 2.5. When you start inching to 3.5, I might lean Chicago.
Yeah.
But at 2.5, give me Tampa. Baker continues to feel dangerous. But the under is probably the best play here with 40 in the hook. I don't know if either one of these teams can score 20 points this week. So, yeah, ugly football game. 3 yards in a cloud of dust feels like the mantra for this game.
Yeah. I tend to look the other way. I think this is a big bounce back game for Chicago. When you look at Tampa's secondary last week, I know they were going up against Justin Jefferson and Addison. They did give up 355 yards passing in the air. So I look for the Chicago Bears to take advantage of that. I think that hopefully DJ Moore gets utilized more in the passing game. I could see Khalil Herbert having a little bit of a better game than he did last week. But I will say I do like Chicago's pass rush a little bit more than Tampa's pass rush. So I do see Chicago's pass rush hopefully getting more than what they did last week against the Packers. I do like Chicago. I know we'll get into it later with our picks, but our bet picks. But I do like Chicago in this game. I don't like the over. I think that this could be a very, like you said, Josh, a very sloppy game. But I do kind of see it also as a bounce back game for Chicago. I think they'll capitalize on the Tampa's secondary being kind of weak. Hopefully DJ Moore has a better game, and hopefully Justin Fields bounces back from last week.
Yeah, the only way I see this over cashing is with turnovers leading to short fields or defensive points. So.
Yeah.
And it's not getting any easier, though, for the Chicago secondary with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin coming into town.
That is true.
Correct. Correct. The takeaway differential here is going to be the key as well. Chicago at -2 and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking the ball away 3 times from the Vikings last week. I still think that's a damn good defense. Not a whole lot of good from either of these 2 teams, more than likely. The Giants are, at the moment, anywhere between, depending on where you can look at it, 5.5 to 6-point favorites. DraftKings currently has them at 5.5. Total is at 40. Jonathan Gannon will be in search of his first win. And, man, I'll tell you what, if they do get their first win, if he does get his first win against the Giants, the sky will be falling in Big Blue Nation.
Yeah.
My sky will be falling.
Your prediction will pretty much be cooked. You can't
Oh,
lose to the Cardinals and
I'll
win the
have
Super Bowl.
I'll have two predictions cooked in this game because I also have the Cardinals 0-17.
Yeah, facts.
So yeah, we'll continue to monitor both of these, I guess, the rest of the season. Thanks.
0 offensive touchdowns from both of these teams combined in week 1. Plug your nose if you're going to be watching this game at State Farm Stadium, Brad.
Yeah. I look for the Giants to bounce back, but I don't know. This could be one of those trap games for the Giants. You know, they might be coming in feeling pretty down, but also pretty up, knowing that they have the Cardinals coming up. But the Cardinals didn't look too bad against the Commanders last week, so this could become a trap game for the Giants. I'm going to take the Giants to cover it. I don't like the over. I'm kind of pessimistic on taking the Giants to cover because I could see this become a trap game. But we thought the Giants' offense looked bad. Arizona's offense looked just as bad.
It didn't exist.
No, it did not exist. So looking at it on paper, it looks like the Giants should have a pretty solid bounce back game, but this could become a trap game where they come in feeling, down, but also pretty good about their opponent and then kind of, overestimating them a little bit.
Yeah. So how I talked about those two games earlier about how I didn't want to watch them. Yeah, actually, I want to watch.
Because you're going to be watching this game.
I'm going to be watching this one because I'm a sicko.
Oh, Jesus.
Give me some Josh Dobbs versus Daniel Jones on my television at 4:05 on Sunday. Please.
What's wrong with you?
Wow, this is the four. Wow, that is crazy.
Gotta have it, man.
Out in Arizona.
This should be the 4:25 game of the week. Put this on Fox with Troy and Joe.
No, I mean it's in Arizona.
Flex the same down?
No, it's in Arizona, and flex so any game that's in Arizona is going to be at 4:00 because of the time change.
They need to flex it to the 4:25 Fox NFL primetime slot.
I don't think that flexing can start until week 5.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that's when they implemented it.
Would love this in the national spotlight.
Oh
no.
Everyone in America is forced to watch.
In fact, we can just move on. The 49ers are looking to go 2-0 against an upstart Sean McVay coach squad. I waxed poetic last week about Matthew Stafford. Tutu Atwell and Puka Nacua are going to be the main guys here. Tyler Higbee is always in the conversation. But to be able to repeat that performance last week that they put together in the second half is going to be a tall test as a 7.5-point dog, over under 45, Josh.
I love the over, actually. I think I saw it earlier today, maybe yesterday at 44. I liked it better at that number. I don't dislike it at 45 because I think, again, the 49ers could go for 30 points like they did last week. They historically play well against Sean McVay. And I see the Rams at least scratching a couple touchdowns across. Matt Stafford looked like a top 5 quarterback in the league last week. I don't know if that'll continue against this 49ers defense, but damn, he looked really good with a supporting cast of no one around him.
Yep.
Except for my boy Puka Nacua. Shout out Puka Nacua.
Puka my Nacua.
But yeah, if I had to lean to a side on this game, it's gotta be the 49ers. I don't know how you pick against them at this point. They're probably the best team in football.
Yeah, I might sound like a crazy person, but I really love the Rams in this game. I don't know what it is about last week. I was looking at that game against Seattle and thinking that they were going to go in there and shit the bed, but to my surprise, they played really well against Seattle. I know San Fran's defense is an absolute nightmare. So even factoring that in, I feel confident about Matthew Stafford. He looked very good last week. It seemed like the injury didn't really have any kind of major effect on him that I thought it would going into the season. So yeah, I like the Rams at plus 7.5. I know at one point it was like at 8, wasn't it? It was like plus 8. I maybe would have felt a little bit more comfortable at 8, but I still like it at 7.5. I think that this game will go over. I don't think it'll become a shootout, but I don't know. I just like the Rams. I'm high on the Rams right now. They looked really good last week, especially like I said against a Seattle team that going into this season I thought was going to be contending, early or late into the playoffs and late in the season.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that this will set the tone. It's a big opportunity for Stafford and co to really prove it. But dude, I mean, almost 8-point dogs at home. That is something
I'll tell you
else.
what, I know we aren't really picking props on the pod, but if I had to throw one out there for that game,
Throw it. Give us one.
I'm throwing out Brock Purdy over 1.5 touchdown passes. I think he's hit it in all but one game of his career so far.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, when they get down in the red zone, they look for guys like George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, any way they can. And you also have a receiving back in Christian McCaffrey. Really like that. I don't know what the odds are on that. I haven't looked at it, but yeah, I like that bet a lot if you're leaning to a prop in that game.
We got some more slop for you in the 4 o'clock window. Over under 39. And a 3.5-point spread for the Denver Broncos at Mile High for the second week in a row. Commanders trying to make it 2-0 on the road and try to hand Sean Payton another loss. Whereas, here's what I think. This is the most must-win second game of a season that I can remember. Because morale will be very, very, very low for this team if they start the season 0-2 with home losses to the Raiders and the Commanders.
Oh, it's time to clean house.
Yeah.
It's time. Yeah, I mean, it'll be time for
if you
Peyton
lose
to clear.
both those games, it's time for Russell Wilson to be out of the building. Sean Payton is ready to clear it and do his own thing at that point on the offense, at least.
Yeah.
The defense
already thinking about it. At the very least, already thinking about the offseason.
Yeah, he'd probably want to know if he didn't already clean house on special teams, but that's besides the point. With all that slander being thrown towards the Broncos, I'm backing the Broncos this week. It's a much better team than what Washington played last week in Arizona, or against Arizona at home. So now going on the road, Mile High, Denver, against a much better defense, a much better football team in general, a better coach football team in general. I think this number is actually disrespectful. This number should be at 5.5, maybe even 6. I think Denver could absolutely steamroll Washington in this game. Going to Denver is never a good sign, especially early in the season when you haven't gotten into full game shape yet in that altitude. This could get ugly early if Sam Howell makes the same mistakes he did last week, because this is a much better defense he's facing.
Yeah. I'm not too confident about Denver right now, especially the way that they played Sunday. That offense did not look good. Like I said, it looked more so how it looked last year. This is going to be a game where Russell Wilson has to play better this game. He has to, especially against Washington's defense that, didn't look too impressive. I mean, they were playing the Arizona Cardinals, so you're not really expecting them to, give Arizona opportunities to score touchdowns. So he's going to have to capitalize on a lot of opportunities, especially in the red zone. Yeah, sure. I like Denver at 3.5, but I think just like the Giants and Arizona game, I could see this be a trap game for Denver. I'm still not sure about Sam Howell, so this will be another opportunity for Sam Howell to really show what he's capable of. I love the under on this game. I think this is going to be another 20-17 type of game. Like I said, Denver's defense is going to be a defense that's going to hold opponents to under 20 points, but can Denver's offense get over the hump and get over 20 points a game? I'm not too sure. I'm not too particularly excited about the future in Denver. there, like you said, it could be a thing where if they lose this game, it could be, we're going to start looking towards the future, rebuilding, and seeing what we could do for the future. So, yeah, sure, I like Denver at
You
3.5,
have
but
to.
I'm not. Yeah, you have to. But I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, Sean Payton has got to come in there and, try to salvage Russell Wilson's career, because if so, you're talking about them losing a lot of draft capital, losing out on that money wise. They gave him a lot of money guaranteed. So, I mean, I think this isn't a game where you look at Russell Wilson and go, this is the game that he has to like prove everything. But like you said, it's week 2. You're playing the Commanders, who didn't play all that great against the Cardinals. You want to come in there and capitalize and get your offense rolling, to a point where you feel comfortable about them actually being able to score over 20 points.
Yeah, I mean, there's just something about how much, like, there's just something to the level of how I will never put my hard-earned coin on Russell Wilson and Sean Payton at this juncture. It's never going to happen. They gotta prove it to me. Moving on to Jerry World. This spread opened at 3.5 and on the look-ahead line before the explosion of Aaron Rodgers' Achilles tendon, and that line has swelled to 9.5 or 10, depending on where you look. The total opened at 45.5. It's down in a full touchdown to 38.5. And I'm sure some people, some sick bastards, Josh, would still like the under. Saleh looking for another improbable victory. Zach Wilson is his back is against the wall, and that defense is ferocious. Talking about the Cowboys, and that pass rush is unrelenting, and he's going to experience it in a very loud environment on Sunday in CBS's Game of the Week.
Jets, Jets. All day long, plus 9.5, plus 10, whichever number you get. And guess what? Sprinkle it on the money line.
Don't tell them that.
Sprinkle it on the money line.
Don't listen to him. He's a madman.
If I don't know if I should mention this on the podcast, but if our boy Trent is on Dak's under interceptions, and we saw Josh Allen turn the ball over 4 times last week. Incoming Dak implosion game.
Oh, wow.
Jets defense, dude, come into Jerry World and just hand it to them after the way they handed it to the Giants last week.
I do feel like this game could get wacky. Like, I feel like this game could
feels
get
like
crazy
a game that's
in a
gonna
hurry.
get real weird. Zach Wilson doesn't have to do anything crazy. Mike McCarthy's going to shoot himself in the foot. The Jets have the better. The Jets have the better coaching staff. The Jets, in my opinion, have the better defense. The Jets have the better running game, I think, as well. There's a lot of things that lean the Jets' way in this game, and I think this number has gotten way out of hand. I get that Aaron Rodgers isn't playing, but that also was not the same Aaron Rodgers everyone thinks of.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't good last year.
Yeah, that's what I talked about on our overview of the season to come. Rodgers wasn't all of that particularly great in Green Bay last year, and like I said, he didn't have Christian Watson at the point where I think Christian Watson could be. So, but that was also him, not really working with his receivers on the offseason. But going into this game, Dallas at 9.5, especially the way that Jets defense played against Buffalo Monday night. Yeah, I don't like that. Give me the Jets minus 9.5. I think that they do cover that. I think this game could be a very sloppy game, especially if the Jets defense gets at Dak the way that they got at Josh Allen. And we know how Dak is under pressure. It's not pretty.
No.
So in that Jets defense, they can certainly get after him. So I like the Jets covering at 9.5, and I like the under on this game. I think that this could be a 13-10 type of ball. I mean, we're talking about these two defenses by the end of the year being in the top 5 defense rankings.
Yeah.
So I think that, this is going to be a sloppy game. I do think I wouldn't take the Jets money line. I don't like the Jets money line, but I do like them to cover. But I think at the end, but at the end of the day, you look at the quarterback play. While Dak is prone to turning the ball over, especially against really good defenses, at the end of the day, I do like Dak over Zach Wilson. So I do like Dallas winning, but I do love the Jets covering the spread.
I can't wait for Sunday at 4:25 when Zach Wilson struts into Jerry World and lights it on fire.
I think
we've seen crazier things.
Class coming.
Yeah.
Incoming disaster class. We head to, and here before we start with this, we head to the world's capital of whether it's mac and cheese or shaving or whatever you want to call it. Guys, Lord. I was today years old when I found out that Tua's middle name is Donnie.
Donnie.
Tua Donnie Tagovailoa. It's really Tua Nigamanuolipola Donnie.
Oh yeah, no.
I'm not gonna tell you said it wrong.
I mean, I probably did.
I'm the worst when it comes to pronouncing names, so that just looked like a bunch of jibber jabberish. But Donnie, that's a pretty cool little middle name. I like that. I'm gonna start calling him Donnie.
How do you go from that to Donnie?
Donnie Doms.
Yeah, there goes
Donnie Doms.
Oh no, you just
Donnie Doms.
There goes young Donnie. The Patriots are looking to even the score at 1-1 and do the same thing for the Dolphins. Tua led all passers last week with 466. Mac Jones not too far behind with 316. Played very well and under control in the second half against a good Eagles defense. Over-under is 47 and climbing. And New England is catching some action as well. They were 2.5 for most of the week and have gotten up to +3, Josh.
Yeah, one thing I want to say here is not like throwing shade or anything. I loved hearing the not that far behind in passing yards when the gap between Tua and Mac Jones is more yards than Desmond Ritter had all of
Sunday. Total.
Oh, no.
Sorry, that made me laugh and I had to share that one. But
I like 25 yards too.
Yeah, dude, like it's not even close. It would have taken like 6 more completions for Ritter. But yeah, give me the Pats here. Dolphins looked really good against what I think is not a very good defense in Indianapolis. And the Patriots had a phenomenal showing against the defending NFC champs. Patriots defense, though, is the biggest storyline out of that game. If Christian Gonzalez can match up with Tyreek Hill, this is going to be a dogfight. And I think Christian Gonzalez can match up with Tyreek Hill. Not saying he's going to shut him down. Not saying he's going to shut him down. But he's not going for, 10 catches and 2 bills this week and, 3 scores?
A player in his second game in the NFL is going to do better against Tyreek Hill?
Yeah, dude, than J.C. Jackson did? Yeah.
Former Patriot in his own right?
Yeah, there's a reason Bill let him go.
Yeah.
This is what
There's
Bill
always
does.
A reason Bill lets everyone go.
This is what Bill, like Tom.
It really is. Yeah,
how'd that work out? Exception to the rule. But yeah, Patriots +3, love that number. If you get 3.5, hammer it. I don't think this gets out of a field goal for this game. I would probably also lean the under. 47 feels a tad too high. This number should probably be closer to 44, I think. I look for New England to take the air out of the football this week, unlike last week, because I don't look for them to get behind early. So I look for a much slower tempo game than either of these teams played last week, but we'll see.
Yeah,
I like the over a little bit. Brad, am I crazy?
You're not crazy, but I like the under on this one. I would go with the under. I think the Patriots going into this game are going to try to utilize their run offense a little bit more. Miami gave up 223 yards rushing. 223 yards rushing last week. So I expect New England to get back to where they're at, where they've always wanted to be with their offense, hit up, Stevenson, let Zeke cook a little bit, Let them get the ground game running so that you can hit with the play action. And I mean, New England's defense looked really good against the Eagles offense. They held Justin Fields to under 200 yards passing. I thought not Justin Fields, Jalen Hurts. That's who it is, not Justin Fields.
Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts. I thought Jalen Hurts played a pretty good first. Yeah, whole lot of J's. Yeah, really, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts. But I think going up against this Pats defense is going to be a true test for the Miami's offense, especially with them not having a true RB1. I know Raheem Mostert is dealing with some injuries, so they're not going to be able to rely on him on the running game. So they're going to have to rely on that passing game. And last week, New England's secondary held their own against the Eagles' pass offense. So I like New England covering here. I like the under on it. I think this could become a game where New England wants to possess the ball a little bit longer. Get that run game going, chew out the clock a little bit more. So Miami's offense can sit on the bench and pray that their defense can come up with something.
Donnie Tagovailoa. I'm never gonna get over that. He is Donnie from now on.
I'll be hearing that one for a long time.
Yeah. There goes Donnie. Live and in action at the scene of the bank this week will be Bradley Davis as he attends this game, the Saints and the Panthers, as our first of two Monday night double dippers. They're doing this 2 weeks in a row. They're doing it week 2 and week 3.
I hate it.
Yeah.
2 games on Monday night.
I hate it.
Yeah, happening at the
literally
same time.
while I'm at the game, I'm going to pull up the other game and just see what's going on. Like, oh, hey, what's going on? Oh, what happened? Oh, commercial break. I'll check out what's going on at the other Monday night game.
Right, like it sucks to be going to a Monday night football game where there's another Monday night football game happening at the same time.
Yeah.
That's a little ass. Derek Carr, if you would have asked me blindly to name his passing yards for last week, I would have not arrived at 305. But that was where he was at, twice as many and then some as his opponent this weekend, Bryce Young. The Saints are 3-point road favorites, and the total right now is at 40 and moving south. Brad, what are you excited about seeing in this game since you're going to be there?
Our defense. I thought they played exceptionally well last week. I know they were going up against Ryan Tannehill, but to also hold Derrick Henry to 4 yards a carry, which was pretty nice. The Titans didn't really utilize them as much as I thought they were going to, but still really solid, especially since last year our run defense was abysmal. It was the bottom 5 of the league last year. So to see them kind of get that juice flowing, kind of get back into rhythm of what the old Saints defense used to be when it came to stopping the run was pretty exciting to see. I am curious to see how the offense continues to go moving forward. The offensive line didn't really look all that great last week against the Titans. A really sneaky good Titans front 4. But Trevor Penny is going to have to step up. He's going to have to be a better left tackle for us. Derek Carr, I thought the first half was a little bit slow, but like I said, in the second half, I thought he made a lot of throws that weren't really there last year with Andy Dalton. Rashid Shaheed bounced back from the opening fumble kickoff return that he had. He had a touchdown, then had the big 35-yard catch to seal the game. Chris Olave, I'm expecting him to have a big game, especially with J.C. Horn out. But I do like Carolina to cover it. I think that this game is going to go on the under. If I had to do the money line, just because I'm a Saints fan, I would have to pick the Saints. But I do like Carolina covering the spread. I think that this could be a very slow game. I think that the Saints offense isn't where I would expect it to be. And against the Carolina defense, that even without J.C. Horn, is still going to be pretty good. They're very sneaky good. So I like Carolina to cover. I like the under. And I just pray to God that the Saints win.
That's
Yeah,
what, since you're going out all that way.
Yeah, exactly.
I just don't understand why this is a Monday Night Football game.
Yeah.
I thought you were about to say, I just hope both teams have fun. I really thought that was what you were about to say.
Yeah, both teams
Honestly,
have fun,
honestly, I just hope both teams sign an extra punter this week.
Yeah.
You're going to need him.
Yeah, you're gonna need him. You might get a guy get tired. I mean, I think punters are gonna get worn out in this game. I look for this game to go way under. If I had to pick a side, I would lean Carolina +3. Not even as a homer pick, because I have not a lot of faith in my Panthers. If it gets to 3.5, I really like it, just because the Saints had forced 4 turnovers last week, I believe.
No. Oh,
Three
yeah, they
picks.
had the 3
Three
picks.
picks.
Yeah, and that was it. Yeah. And they had the block punt, so I guess,
Yeah, 3 picks, a blocked punt, a lot of game script going in their direction, and you win a close nail biter. To me, that sounds like a recipe for regression the following week. Take my favorite team being in the game out of it. I would lean this, whether it was Arizona playing in this game. But yeah, as long as Bryce doesn't make any major mistakes, I think Carolina should be able to at least hang around in this ball game. I look for them to be able to establish the run maybe a little bit better than Tennessee did last week. I know Derrick Henry is a better back than what Carolina has, but I also think Carolina's offensive line as a run blocking unit is better than what Tennessee had. So it'll be an interesting game to watch. I'm excited for you, Brad, going. So for your sake, I wouldn't be upset with the Saints win. It's always cool to see your team win in person. But yeah, we'll see. Again, like David said, just hope both teams have fun and everyone stays healthy.
Yeah.
Especially Bryce Young.
Yeah.
If Bryce Young can stay healthy for 17 games, is call this season a victory for me.
Yeah. I will also point out too, Peyton Turner went to IR, so that's another defensive lineman that goes down for us.
Yeah, Brady Christensen
seems like
went to IR today for us, so we're down a guard.
Yeah.
He's done for the year, torn bicep, I believe.
Whew.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Yep, so hopefully we go sign Lyle Collins.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, him being out on the streets is certainly something
Surprising.
Definitely. Was not
He'll
on my
find a home
preseason bingo
fast.
card. I think so. Final game of the week. Cleveland, 2-point favorites at Pittsburgh, who will do anything to get the stench out of what they did last week. Cleveland looking to go 2-0 and really put a stamp on my AFC North prediction right out of the gates. Pittsburgh just looking to see if they can get any type of momentum going at all. What if I told you Allen Robinson was the leading receiver last week for the Steelers and that I didn't even know he was on the roster until yesterday?
I'd tell you to clean your non-existent glasses.
I thought he was still with the Rams.
Robinson. Well, he had 5 catches and 64 yards.
Hey, good for him. Good for him. Allen Robinson, he kind of fell off the earth once he got to LA. He was featured to be their star number 2 next to Cup, and he just
did
nothing. Nothing ever came of that. So hopefully he has a resurgence in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I'm again going back to the well in this game. Unfortunately, I will be back on the Steelers in this game. I don't like it, but Mike Tomlin's got to get 8 or 9 wins somewhere, and the Steelers have historically owned the Browns.
Yep.
In their building at the ketchup bottle, which I don't think it is actually the ketchup bottle anymore. It's not Heinz Field anymore, is it?
No, it's
like crypto.
No. Acrisure is some form of insurance.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay, they weren't.
It's like medical insurance.
NBA, I think.
Oh wow.
But yeah, you played the 49ers last week. A buzzsaw of a team. Cleveland's good. They're not the 49ers. Not many teams in the league are. And this may come back to bite me in the ass. But Quarterback-wise, I would take Kenny Pickett over Deshaun Watson right
It's
Oh,
not
now.
like
wow.
Watson. It's not like Watson did much to dissuade that take
Yeah.
this
I
week.
agree, but God, Pickett looked so bad.
So
Yeah.
bad.
But I look for a big Najee Harris, Jalen Warren game here.
So what they got to do is control the trenches, Brad.
Yeah. I would rather take the Cleveland Browns here. I know Pittsburgh did go up against the 49ers this past Sunday, but Pickett just didn't really impress me, even when he was going up against, basically the best defense in the league. I see the Cleveland Browns as a team that has a really solid defense. Myles Garrett looked fantastic Sunday, like really, really good. And I think Deshaun Watson has a better game than what he did Sunday. I mean, like I said, like we talked about, the weather conditions in that game was awful. So I wasn't expecting Deshaun Watson to really put up fantastic numbers, and especially against the Steelers secondary that really isn't all that there yet. I expect him and Cooper Kupp and Elijah Moore to have a better game. And Nick Chubb. I think Nick Chubb's going to have a solid game. I like Pittsburgh. I like Cleveland covering it, and I like the under just because this is a divisional game. These two teams hate each other, so they're going to get after it. But I do like Cleveland covering, but I do like the under on the game.
Yeah, also being a primetime game, divisional unders, primetime unders, definitely feels like a good spot for an under, especially for two teams that didn't have a lot of offense last week.
Yeah.
That about covers it, guys, for week 2. We will now head into what's going to be our weekly contest. Pick 5. It can be anything on the board with a couple exceptions. You may select 4 spreads or totals of any kind. You may select any of them, but one of them has to be a lock. One of them has to be your designated lock. And you have to pick an upset money line pick. So as your 5th pick. So without further ado, how we'll do this too, the lines will lock at the time of recording. So the line movement after today will not matter. But we will start with myself. I am on Kansas City minus 3.5. I love the opportunity for the Chiefs to get a big bounce back game here this week with Jones and Kelsey returning. I believe, yes, that's correct. I love the Baltimore-Cincinnati under 46.5. Divisional unders speak for themselves. And the only thing that speaks for themselves more than that are primetime divisional unders. So we will take the Saints and the Panthers under 40. My lock of the week is Green Bay. You can get it at 1 right now. So I will change that to -1. Green Bay -1. And for my upset of the week, sorry to my boy AR-15, I'm going to go the other side and take the home team. I like the Texans as just about an even line money underdog to clip the Colts. Josh.
Yeah, so I'm going to kick it right off tomorrow night. We got Minnesota plus 6.5 on the screen. I actually locked this number in, I believe, on Monday at plus 7.5. So I really like it better at that number. But this is another game where I would also sprinkle some on the money line. I could very well see Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson getting hot, leading this team, and winning a shootout ball game. Kind of a la what they did a lot last year, winning one-score games. Think that could be the case again right here. So we'll see there tomorrow night. I love Denver minus 3.5, as I talked about earlier. That altitude, Washington coming off what I thought was a very poor performance in a win. Denver coming off a very poor performance in general and a loss. Feels like a great buy low spot on Denver and a fade Washington at a high point spot there. Green Bay -1. Really high on the Packers team this year. I think I talked about that in the preview podcast and talked about that a little bit yesterday on our recap podcast of week 1. Jordan Love, He looks to be playing good football. LaFleur's putting him in really, really good spots. I think they have a chance to get to 2-0 here, and I think they take advantage of that. My lock of the week, an under at a gross number of 40. The Giants and the Cardinals. Don't think either one of these teams can score 20 points, much less both of them getting there. The only way I think this cashes is if you have complete offensive blunders leading to defensive turnovers, which is very, very possible. We saw that from the Giants last week. We also saw Arizona put the ball in the end zone. So don't be surprised if there's a backdoor cover in this game. But I don't see that happening. I think this is a 10-7, hell, maybe even a 3-2 ball game. I think this could be ugly and maybe be done in like a 2 hour, 45-minute time frame. And then my upset of the week, give me a big dog. Seattle money line. Like I talked about earlier, I think the Seahawks, I was very high on them to start the season. I'm not going to abandon ship after 1 week. I know it's an ugly loss, which feels like exactly why this is a great spot to buy back on the Seahawks here. Detroit's also at one of their highest points they're going to have the season, coming off of a victory against the defending Super Bowl champions. Everybody and their mother is going to hammer Detroit on the spread in this game. Give me Seattle. This game feels like it should be closer to a pick 'em when you look at the personnel on both sides. I think you're getting tremendous value here on the Seahawks.
Good enough. Bradley.
Yeah, to bounce off what Josh said about the Minnesota game, I love Minnesota covering it plus 6.5. I think this game could definitely become a shootout. I mean, the injuries with the Eagles secondary is very concerning, especially going up against Jefferson and now Addison. So I love Minnesota covering that game. The Giants, I think that they come into this week and look for a huge bounce back from Sunday night against the Cardinals. Like I said, it could be a trap game. But for right now, I love the Giants covering that 5.5. If Daniel Jones and Waller can get on the same page, and if Barkley can have a big game, I feel very comfortable with the Giants covering at minus 5.5. The Ravens at 3.5, I absolutely love it. Like I said, the last about 2 years, I feel like the Ravens always give the Bengals a run for their money. Lamar Jackson is going to be getting Mark Andrews back. Zay Flowers looks like he's going to become a legitimate stud. So I like the Ravens at 3.5. Divisional game should be fun to watch. Lock. I know that I sound crazy, but I'm high on the Rams. I don't know what it was. Week 1, I love them. I love what they did to Seattle. I have them at plus 8.5. I think that game. I know they are playing the best defense in the league. I know that, but I love what I saw from Matthew Stafford. The receiving core looks better than what was promised coming into the season with Kupp going to IR.
Shout out Puka Nacua.
Yep, Puka Nacua. I love him. I picked him up in one of my leagues, so hopefully he has a big game. But yeah, I love the Rams. I love what they did against Seattle last week. So yeah, give me Rams as a lock at plus 8.5. And the upset for me is Chicago. I think Chicago has a bounce back week. They didn't play too bad in the first half against Green Bay's defense. So I'm hoping that they utilize more DJ Moore in this game. Hopefully he has more than 2 targets, because if not, that's going to be very concerning going forward for the Chicago offense. Hopefully Chicago's defense can get a little bit more pressure and generate some more sacks this week against Baker Mayfield, who is prone to turn the ball over when under pressure. So I love Chicago's money line. I think they have a big bounce back week and get it done.
Great work, gentlemen. Let's take a look here at the board. Once again, and I've got to change this to 3.5, unfortunately. 3.5 for the Chiefs for me. A couple of divisional unders, one in prime time with Baltimore, Cincinnati under 46.5, New Orleans, Carolina under 40, Green Bay -1, and the Houston Texans is my upset money line of the week. For Joshua, Minnesota plus 6.5, aligning with Brad. Denver -3.5. Green Bay -1, where we were in lock agreement there. As a shout out to the Cover 3 podcast. The New York Giants and the Arizona Cardinals under 40 is his lock of the week, and the Seattle Seahawks are his upset of the week. Brad has Minnesota plus 6.5, the Giants -6, the Ravens plus 3.5. His lock will be the Rams to cover plus 8.5, and with his upset, give him the road Chicago Bears. Guys, it's always very fun to do this. This is our first kind of back-to-back days where we've done it. I don't know if anybody listening or watching can tell, but I'm a little under the weather. So we're going to go ahead and get out of here. But for me and Josh and Brad, we will see you guys next week to recap week 2 and look ahead to week 3. Until then, signing off.
Thanks, guys.
See you.